Hi everybody, so this is the final video in the Swan Lake commentary series. It's Act 4, which is not terribly long, Odette's part, so I'm just going to put it all in one. So let's take a look. So by this point, as a dancer, you're very excited because all your hard stuff is over, and this is the act where you can really just emote. And you have to because Odette is just completely distraught. This is Peter Martin's choreography at the beginning, but the actual Act 4 version we're doing here is Eric Brunn's version, which I'll explain the story as we go along. There's so many different endings of Swan Lake. Suicide, death, happy endings. So anyway, this is the Eric Brunn version. But here, yeah, I was just more concerned with emoting and just you get kind of a second wind actually because Black Swan is over. Not that I don't love Black Swan, but that's always nagging at the back of your mind, those fouettes. So the whole purpose here is just to show her complete agony. Ooh, that was a nice balance. That he picked the wrong girl, really. And, she's just pleading for help with her sister swan people, technical term. A lot more attitudes running around. However, you do have to pace yourself because it is so frantic, this first little part, that if you kind of go all out too soon, then you're out of fuel in the tank, So here's where you can breathe. And I love these little things where you're on the floor and you port a bras back, and there's actually a trick to them. After you port a bras back, if you ever bend forward, you put your back right there. My back arm is down on the floor for balance. That's a little insider trick. But we went from frantic to now this is more melancholy, and I would try to hold these balances pretty good. Guys, trick for balances, even if you don't hold it, keep your upper body up, because if your upper body suddenly drops, you look like you lost it. But if you keep your upper body lifted, then even if your foot comes down, you still look like you're on balance. Little trick there. So a lot more swan arms. Now here's where Rothbart returns, I believe. And again, every version is different. For example, the New York City Ballet version, half the corps is in black swan tutus, half the corps is in white swan, so there's like a black swan corps at New York City Ballets. The Royal Ballets, they do a whole big long version of different music, and there's a whole different, just so many different versions. Act 4 of Swan Lake is the one that is never the same. Act 1 is usually the same. The Black Swan act is usually very similar, but this is the act I've never seen the same twice. So many different versions. So here, you're basically begging Rothbart to essentially leave me alone. I'm tired of you, man. Go away. A couple lifts with Rothbart. This is Bobby. Again, this is a guesting performance, meaning a lot of you have asked what a guesting performance is. This is not New York City Ballet. This is Mobile Ballet, where I grew up. Actually, they have a company there and do a lot of these big shows, and they do such a great job. Everybody looks so well trained and costumed and sets. But yeah, guesting performance is when you're not dancing with your own company. Bobby was also in Sleeping Beauty with me. He was one of the 4 suitors. Anyway, so here comes the prince, and guess what? We need this on a t-shirt, guys. Where'd she go? Where'd she go? Maybe she's over here. I don't know. They all look the same. They're all in white tutus. Why is that? They didn't have those on in rehearsal. But yeah, the guy is always running around, and I never really noticed it until I started doing these commentaries, and it's pretty funny. But this is your rest period. You have to, at this point, because you've been so tired, you have to be careful not to let everything go, because right here you're literally laying on the floor. There's a good chance that if you kind of give up, you're not going to be able to get back up. So you have to kind of keep muscles engaged and not get too comfortable. So this coming up is the Act 4 pas de deux. I love this pas de deux, this music. This is pretty much the New York City Ballet version, Peter Martin's choreography. Seth and I did change a couple of things because I was sick, just to make it a little bit easier. But I do love this pas de deux and this music. This is probably my favorite pas de deux of the 3. Because also there are no fouettes and no solos. She's just completely distraught. another chance to show swan arms and a lot of pretty lines. And he, of course, is feeling rather guilty, as he should. And again, this pas de deux, I've never seen the same pas de deux twice. ABT keeps the entire corps on. Royal Ballet doesn't even use this music, so it's just, it varies from company to company. But this, I love this pas de deux because it gives you a chance to slow down. Because the ending is going to pick back up in a minute, and it's going to get really crazy. And so this just gives you a moment with him. And actually, the entire ballet, if you think about it, this is the only time on stage, at least in this version, where it's just you and the prince. There are other people on stage in Black Swan. There are other people on stage in White Swan, the first act. This is the only time that it was just the two of us. So it kind of gives you a minute to slow down a little bit. I like this part, swan arms. Anything with swan arms, I was a fan. So by the end of this pas de deux, as you'll see, she ends up forgiving him, but it's a little too late for that. This promenade we changed, that's supposed to be something else. I can't remember what it was supposed to be. Here's where it picks up. And this is tricky because you have to still retain a soft upper body as the music gets crazy. You know, oops, that was supposed to be above that tutu. Whoops. Arms, let's see if I do it again. Arms, he's supposed to hug me above the tutu. Nope, that was my fault. Should have kept him higher. Oh well. Yeah, you have to keep the upper body soft. Like I said in the other Swan Lake videos, keep it soft amidst crazy leg work, and keep it bird-like. You know, not too frantic, but at the same time, it's almost like you have to have a completely different upper body than lower body. It has to stay somewhat soft, otherwise it ruins it. This little step, I like the step. In the City Ballet version, she does like a soda basque into him before that lift. Yeah, we nixed that. I love attitude backwards promenades like that. That's really fun. Look, I'm having tutu problems. There we go. Here is where she's starting to come around and forgive him. You know, because she knows Rothbart has a curse and has the ability to trick people. Right here, okay, I go down to the swan position. I get stuck on his foot. Look at my bottom leg. I get totally stuck, and he has to pull his foot out. Whoops. Yeah, that was attractive. This little pose, you have to turn your head to the right or the left, otherwise you get makeup on your tights. But I just love how calm, you know, this pas de deux starts calm and then it gets crazy, and then by the end it's just so quiet and subtle, and it's just a quiet moment. I love that about this. Anytime there's a pas de deux that's pretty and doesn't require variations, I'm happy. That's why I like Romeo and Juliet a lot. Anyway, okay, so that's the Act 4 pas de deux. Love that one. And now the craziness ensues. In this version, she starts to realize that something is happening. So obviously she's starting to feel like she's gonna turn back into a swan. That's what I tried to portray. It's like, okay, wait a minute. But it's a little bit different this time. Something is not right. Let's do another step we did earlier. A lot of arabesques in this ballet. Your arms, you have to do an extra cross-training for your arms. I did a lot of weights. Sometimes did the variation with wrist weights on, because your upper body gets so tired. It's like, by the end, your back hurts, your shoulders are killing you. So if you didn't do any extra arm work, good luck, basically. So I did a lot of extra arm work. I did swan arms on the elliptical, like while I was ellipticaling, just to build the stamina. And it really helps because then you have the strength to sort of let it be soft and you're not muscling through it by the end. Yeah, so here in other versions, in New York City Ballet's version, black swans come on with white swans. Just sort of, those are Rothbart's minions, and the white swans are on her side. This is a lot of companies do this, 2 circles around them. But by this point, your dancing is done. And so, you know, your feet are gone, your legs are gone, but it's okay. Because all you have to do is worry about the story. You really just have to, you know, and it's not that difficult because the music is there, you've got girls running around flapping, so that just kind of makes everything a little more tense. So, you know, and the music is so huge, it's not difficult to stay in this story. You know, that's what to me makes Sleeping Beauty so difficult as opposed to Swan Lake. I always found Sleeping Beauty was harder because there's no story. I mean, her biggest problem is that she's asleep. You know, this you get to play two characters, there's a lot of drama. Yes, there are flettes, but you get to really stay in that story. And it just makes it easier, especially when you're tired. You shift your focus to staying in the drama instead of, now I have to pirouette and do 4 more variations and balance on my leg, as you do in Sleeping Beauty. But I think I might have mentioned that in those commentaries. But here, he still has to dance, and you're grateful that you don't still have to dance. But again, depending on the version. Mr. Orza, this is Seth Orza, PMB principal. He has beautiful lines. So talented. Yeah, and I'm just over there like emoting, arms emoting. Okay, so in this version, they push Siegfried into the lake and he dies. And she is going to remain a swan for all eternity. That's the ending of this version. Sometimes she commits suicide and he commits suicide after her. New York City Ballet's version, nobody dies. She just remains a swan forever. And then some versions, there's a happy ending and Rothbard dies. So there's so many different endings to this story. But this particular version, the swans just pushed him in the lake and she is stuck as a bird. This is my favorite part of the whole ballet. I will say, this little ending on stage by yourself. Vertebra back, I love this. Now right about here, the arm goes down on the floor for balance, very handy. And this, I love this. You know, you have to show, now she's turning back into a swan, permanently. So, one wing, second wing, and then a couple more big flaps, and then you show that now I'm a bird, and you just finish. That was such a fulfilling thing. You know you've just completed this ballet. You're standing there, it's just you all by yourself. It's one reason I really like this version, is because you have that moment of, you know, it's just you. The accomplishment that you feel is just amazing. There's nothing like it. And so that's it, guys. I think the only thing I didn't show you was Odile's entrance in the ballroom. You basically run on, you make an evil face, bow the queen, do some chaînés, and run off. That's about it. So I showed you everything pretty much in this performance, and I really hope you enjoyed it. Again, I was very ill at the time. If you hadn't seen the other videos, with my autoimmune illness starting to kick in, and muscles didn't quite function very well. But I am still really, really proud of this performance. I think my upper body did really, really well, and I have nice upper body work, even if the weight's not that great, and sometimes the legs weren't quite as crisp as they usually were. But happy to show you guys any and all points of my dancing. So if there are any other videos you want to see, I think I have Nutcracker. I might have a couple others. I'm sure I do. I'm sure my parents do. And I might even, if you guys are interested in me going back and doing some commentary of when I was younger, that could be quite interesting, like the snow pas de deux and all of that. Let me know in the comments. If you missed my wedding makeup tutorial, a lot of you asked me to do that. It's right there. You can click it to watch. Love you guys so, so much, and I'll see you next time.